Okay, good day to all students of Pablo S. Villafuerte High School. Again, this is Sir Eduardo D. Malye Jr., your Science 10 teacher. And today we are going to tackle about the Science Quarter 2, the Module 5, which is the topic of electromagnetic wave. And we are going to focus more on the discussion on the application of radio wave as part of the electromagnetic wave spectrum family. And for our most essential learning competency, cite examples of practical applications of the different regions of electromagnetic waves, such as the use of radio waves and telecommunications. As you can see in these pictures, all of us watch our favorite movies and teleseries, live performances and concerts of both local and foreign artists. Majority of our students now are very familiar with the Korean K-pop idols. And have you ever wondered why these performances can be watched on our television even though they are very far? Being familiar with the different types of electromagnetic waves is very important because of its use and harm to human and the environment. Would you like to know the applications of these electromagnetic waves? Okay, fasten your seatbelt because this module will take you to the wonders of EM waves. Of course, you have to read and follow instructions in using this module, and you have to enjoy while answering the different exploratory activities and quizzes in this module. Okay, our targets: number 1, define or describe radio waves. Number 2, identify the different frequencies of radio waves and its applications. Number 3, identify the different characteristics of radio waves. Number 4, cite some disadvantages of radio waves. Before we proceed, we have to try answering this pretest. Identify what is asked or described in each item, then write the letter of the correct answer. Number 1, what is radio wave? Letter A, radio waves has the longest wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. Number 1, what is radio wave? Letter A, radio waves have the longest wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. Letter B, radio waves have very limited range of wavelengths. Letter C, radio waves are produced by making protons vibrate in an antenna. Letter D, radio waves smaller wavelengths than microwaves. Okay, what do you think is the correct answer? Let us check. Okay, the correct answer is letter A. Radio waves have the longest wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. Let us proceed to number 2. Which radio waves are suitable for communication over great distances? Letter A, high frequency waves. B, medium frequency waves. Letter C, low frequency waves. Letter D, mega high frequency waves. Do you think is the answer? Okay, letter C, low frequency waves. The low frequency waves is commonly used or suitable for communication over great distances. Okay, number very high frequency radio wave is best applied in blank. Letter A, AM radio broadcasting. B, FM radio broadcasting. Letter C, satellite communication. Letter D, TV broadcasting and satellite communication. What is your answer? Okay, FM radio broadcasting. Number 4, all of the following are characteristics of radio waves except A, not line of sight. B, shorter range. C, can pass through walls. D, not light sensitive. What is your answer? Okay, letter B, short range. Number 5, all of the following are disadvantages of radio waves except A, more costly than infrared. B, it is easier to eavesdrop since signals are transmitted in space rather than a wire. Letter C, communication devices that make use of some frequencies interfere with their transmission. Letter D, low power requirements that makes it ideal for laptops and other technological devices. What is your answer? Okay, letter D, low power requirements that makes it ideal for laptops and other technological devices. Okay, let us now proceed to another activity. Okay, in this activity, you're going to write at least one word on the boxes below that you think is related to radio waves. Okay, can you guess one? Okay, communication that is related to radio waves. Any more words? Okay, satellite. Any more? Sound. Television. What else? Radio. And there are a lot of words that you can link to radio waves. Let us now tackle the different characteristics of the different band of the radio wave frequency. Let us now proceed to radio waves frequency. We have the different band of the radio wave based on its frequency and wavelength. Okay, number one is the extremely low frequency or the ELF. The frequency range is less than 3 kilohertz and the wavelength is more than 100 kilometers. Next one, very low frequency, 3 to 30 kilohertz. The wavelength is between 10 to 100 kilometers. So the applications of this ELF and VLF are of interest for communication system for submarines. Okay, the next one, low frequency. The frequency is 30 to 300 kilohertz. The wavelength is 1 to 10 kilometers. This one. And the application, it is being used in radio communication. The next one, medium frequency. The frequency is 300 kilohertz to 3 megahertz. The wavelength, 100 meter to 1 kilometer. It is used in radio communication, the AM radio broadcasting. The next one, the high frequency, between 3 to 30 megahertz. The wavelength is 10 to 100 meters. It is also used in radio communication and in AM radio broadcasting. The next one, the very high frequency, between 30 to 300 megahertz. The wavelength is 1 to 10 meters. It is being used in radio communication, FM radio broadcasting. As you can see, we have the AM radio broadcasting and FM radio broadcasting. If we are going to compare the difference, when I was in elementary, that was the year 90s, and high school, when we are going to ask what is the difference between the AM and FM radio station, the common answers that is in our mind is that the AM radio station is more on news, and then the FM radio station is more on music. But later on, as we go further with our studies, we saw the difference between the AM and FM, because when I say AM, this is pertaining to amplitude modulation. If we are going back to the parts of the wave, the amplitude is the distance from the equilibrium to the highest part or the lowest part of the wave. And then the FM is the frequency modulation. Nowadays, majority of the AM radio station are now converted to FM radio station because of its high quality sounds. Okay, next, the ultra high frequency, 300 megahertz to 3 gigahertz. Okay, the wavelength is between 10 centimeter to 1 meter. It is used also in FM radio broadcasting. Let's now proceed to super high frequency, between 3 to 30 gigahertz, 1 to 10 centimeter. It is used in radio communication and satellite communication. The next one, the extremely high frequency, between 30 to 300 gigahertz. Okay, the wavelength is 1 millimeter to 1 centimeter. Let us now proceed to these exploratory activities. Based on this table, you may now answer these 4 questions. Okay, the direction. Below are frequencies of different wavelengths and their uses. Answer the following questions. You may use a separate sheet or you may answer it in your activity notebook. Okay, number 1. What bands are suitable for communication over great distances? Can you give me your answer? Okay, the answer is low frequency waves. Number 2. Which wave band is used for broadcasting by local radio station? Okay, medium and high frequency waves. Number 3. Which wave band is most suitable in radio and TV broadcasting with the shortest wavelength range? Okay, the very high frequency waves. Okay, number 4. How is the wavelength range of extremely low frequency band compared to extremely high frequency band? Okay, the extremely high frequency band has shorter wavelength compared to extremely low frequency band. Meaning, these are the concepts keep in your mind. This. Okay, radio waves. Radio waves have the longest wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. They are produced by making electrons vibrate in an antenna. They are used to transmit sound and picture information over long distances. Radio waves have a very wide range of wavelengths. The whole region of the radio waves is divided into smaller regions or wave bands. Each wave band is allocated by law to a specific radio service. Low frequency waves are suitable for communication over great distances, but the curvature of the Earth limits the range to about 80 kilometers. That's why, to extend the range, a repeater is used. The repeater signal received and retransmit it to the receiving station. Okay, we have high frequency waves can be reflected by the ionosphere. This enables the waves to be transmitted over great distances. Okay, radio wave. Radio waves have the following characteristics. Number 1, not line of sight. Number 2, can pass through walls. Number 3, longer range. Number 4, not light sensitive. Okay, we have some disadvantages of radio frequencies. Includes number 1, communication devices that make use of the same frequencies interfere with their transmission. It is easier to eavesdrop since signals are transmitted in space rather than a wire. It's more costly than infrared. Direction, fill in the table by choosing the data provided on the box. You have to choose from this box. Okay, let us have the sample answer in super high frequency. What is the frequency range of super high frequency? Okay, that is between 3 to 30 gigahertz. What about its wavelength? That is between 1 to 10 centimeter. What about the application? Okay, it is being used in satellite communication. So, the number 2, the high frequency and the extremely high frequency, I will leave it to you to give the answer. I am going to give you time to answer the remaining 6 blanks in our table. Okay, good luck. Okay, another activity. Okay, and our activity 2, the title is What Am I? Okay, direction. Complete the paragraph below by about radio waves and its applications by decoding the pictures represented. Sample number 1. What will be the answer? Okay, that is radio wave. From the picture, radio and wave. What about in number 2? Meaning radio wave have the longest blank. What is the number 2? Okay, number 2 is wavelength. Okay, the next one from this picture, as you can see, we can now complete. Radio wave have the longest wavelength in the blank. This blank can be longer than a blank, or leave it to you to complete the paragraph. Okay. Again, good luck to everyone. For our reinforcement, to strengthen that what you have learned in this module, make a short poem or poster about the advantages and disadvantages of radio waves. Okay, in our vocabulary or our word bank, amplitude, when you say amplitude, the maximum amount of displacement of a particle of the medium from its rest position, or we can measure that from the equilibrium position up to the crest. The next one, antenna, is the interface between radio waves propagating through space and electric currents moving in metal conductors used in transmitter or receiver. Frequency, the number of occurrences of a repeating event per unit of time. Wavelength is the distance between crest to crest and trough to trough. Satellite is an object that has been intentionally placed into orbit. That is the so-called the artificial satellite, because when they say natural satellite, that is pertaining to our moon. Okay, let us now proceed to your assessment. We have to assess what have you learned. Number 1, how are radio waves produced? Letter A, radio waves are produced by making electrons vibrate in an antenna. Letter B, radio waves are produced by making the protons vibrate in an antenna. Letter C, radio waves are produced by making the electrons vibrate in satellites. Letter D, radio waves are produced by making the protons vibrate in satellites. Number 2, the whole region of the radio waves is divided into smaller regions called A, wavelengths, B, wavebands, C, frequencies, D, antenna. Okay, number 3. This type of electromagnetic wave has the longest wavelength. A, radio waves, B, microwaves, C, infrared, D, X-ray. Therefore, what type of waveband is suitable for communication over great distances? Letter A, very high frequency. Letter B, high frequency. Letter C, medium frequency. And letter D, low frequency. And our number 5, where are the radio waves found in the electromagnetic spectrum? Letter A, end of EM spectrum. B, middle of EM spectrum. Letter C, in between the end and the middle. Letter D, in between the beginning and middle of EM spectrum. Number 6, which is a characteristics of radio waves. A. Longer range. B. Shorter range. C. Light sensitive. D. Visible to human eye. And in our number 7, what converts sound into patterns of electric current variables called AF signals? Letter A. Telephone. B. Microphone. C. Cell phone. D. Amplifier. Okay, in our 8 to 10, cite at least 3 disadvantages of radio waves. So, based in our module, I am very sure that you can answer this assessment. Or next video lesson, I'm going to upload the quarter 2 module 6. Module 6, we are going to tackle more on the applications of microwaves. So, I hope you enjoyed watching my video and you learned a lot from this module. Again, this is Sir Eduardo D. Malye Jr. Thank you for watching.